Now we know that you are one of the greatest storytellers of all time, but what inspired you to do so?
Well, I was inspired by my life experiences. Also, the places that I lived had a great influence on my writing.
What originally inspired you to write stories?
Well, I had my largest urge to write stories after I went to the Yukon during the gold rush.
Interesting. And what happened there that influenced you?
Well, nature was very intriguing to me, and I loved hearing about the animals and plants, and I truly got a first-hand look on how nature worked, life and death, etc.
You have many ties in your stories that reflect your life and your history. Why is that?
Well, as you stated, I am a storyteller, and this means that I prefer to recreate stories based on my own life experiences. And you'll see recurring plots, settings, characters, and themes.
I see that dogs are always an influential character in many of your stories, such as To Build a Fire, White Fang, Love of Life, and Call of the Wild. Why is this?
Well, that is for multiple reasons. I believe there are more of those animals than people believe, and we underestimate what they are capable of and how smart they are. I had 4 dogs of my own, and I developed a very strong connection with them. I grew nearly obsessed with them. So yes, they did have a great influence on
What
my
was
writing.
so interesting about the Yukon that made you place it as a setting for so many of your stories?
Well, my expedition to the Yukon really changed my perception on life and how valuable it was. Not only that, it gave me a whole new respect for the people and animals that lived in such harsh conditions. Granted, I wasn't there for long, but I did learn a lot. In the Yukon, there's a large struggle for survival, and that's what most survival stories are set there. So, To Build a Fire, White Fang, and The Call of the Wild.
Speaking of survival, we notice that is a common theme for many of your stories. Why is this?
Well, while I was in the Yukon, I came down with a brutal sickness, and I didn't have a medic, just my fellow miners. And I was struggling for my life. Luckily, I made it back home safely, but it left a permanent mark on me. And now I'm much more appreciative of my life, and I believe that people can be very ignorant sometimes, and that influenced a few of my stories.
Can you give us an example of a story that uses all 3 of these ties?
Well, for example, To Build a Fire is set in the Yukon, and I wrote about an extremely ignorant man, and he just wanted to make it from point A to point B without stopping to think. I used the dog's thoughts based on instinct to demonstrate to the reader what the man should have done. Now, the man can't understand the dog, making this very ironic, and the reason I did this was to demonstrate how in the wild, a dog's instinct will outmatch a man's, and in a great struggle for life, the man passes away. This is one of my stories that conveys the overall message of life.
After reading all of your stories, what message can a reader see?
Well, a reader will see that mankind can be very ignorant and self-centered, and our greatest downfall, it is our greatest downfall, and life is worth about the same in the end, no matter if it's a human or a dog or centipede or an ant. At the end of the day, we all fall down on the same level, and life is all about wins and losses, and as nature takes its course, only the fittest is going to survive. You should enjoy your life while you have it, because you never know when you'll lose it.
Wow, Jack, that really changes the way I believe we all look at life. Thank you, Mr. London.